Hello, everyone. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the F4L Headquarters podcast. I am your F4L icon, Sean Jazz Stevens. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. All right, everybody. Here I am, and it is that time. You know, I have many times tried to, I have tried on many occasions to turn a blind eye and ignore information that I know. And there comes a time when you take a stand and you do what's right. And when I see my friends getting lied to by people who are supposed to be helping them or not being 100% honest, it hurts my heart a little bit, and it gives me insight to the fact that I have conflict with being able to understand how people can be so unthoughtful or I don't know, regardless. All right, so folks, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Today is going to be a very hard show, okay? This is not going to be a picnic for me, but this is a show that, all honesty, hold on one second, I don't know why this is doing this now. Give me one moment, folks. Hope this doesn't tune up on my thing, hopefully. Isn't that delightful? Interesting. Close that down. I'm just going to change my background real quick, folks. Bear with me. There we go. Well, actually, probably this one is probably the best one to use. So, as you guys know, I am the leader of the F4L, and I've been doing this podcast for a long time, and I try to keep things on the positive. I am all about people fulfilling their goals and dreams and aspirations. And people are familiar with the SAG strike and the WAG strike and all the other things that are just currently going on in Hollywood. And as much as people can think of it, it's not a big deal, or it doesn't really affect them because they're not in the entertainment world or whatever else. But the thing about that is, when you make this conscious effort to sort of become involved in these things, right? When you become involved in these kinds of unions and whatnot, you have to play a role in how everything is dealt with and met and so forth. So that being said, I really tried staying out of this whole thing because I don't feel like it's something that needed for someone like myself to get involved with. I had hoped that groups run by rational adults would be able to handle this, peacefully and rationally like human beings. But now you've left me no alternative. When you start lying to people who are F4L, now you're going to start falling into that other category. Now you're going to start to annoy me because you're lying to my friends some of my friends are SAG. That's their choice. And again, the basic functions of the F4L, the belief of the F4L, love, caring, compassion, understanding, and respect for each other's differences. That is the F4L code. But it's also about upholding those values as well. And when people are in violation of those things, then it has to be someone to use their voice to be the person to bring to light and to be that, the person of reason, I guess, the person who will be the voice of change, maybe? So, this is being recorded today, the 25th of October. I got some intel that they're, again, trying to resolve these issues today. But there are some things that I think need to be met and some things that need to be addressed right away. And I'm taking the point of view. I'm not for studios executives at all. And I'm also not for SAG or any of those unions as well. I am taking the perspective and the position for the people who are caught in the middle of this. That is the people who are the actors and the actresses, the entertainers, the artists, who are currently not being able to do what they love and what they do well, being prevented from going to work and whatnot. And I feel the problem gets stemmed from people not knowing what is going on with that aspect. I feel like that's the biggest issue right now. That I don't feel like the members are aware of everything going on with the people who are supposed to be representing them. And I want to be fair and I want to be honest with you guys. I had this until weeks ago. Weeks ago, I knew that this was the case. And I really struggled within myself to, do I say something and ruffle feathers of people who I care about? Or do I allow them to continue to walk blindly, not knowing any of these things? Will they listen? At the end of the day, at least I'll have it off my conscience that I can get these things that I know off mine. And the first thing I want to address, for a number of years, I have been the Youth Human Rights Officer for all youth programs in the social area of my home state. That means that annually I sit in on meetings and represent youths who are in various different programs to make sure their basic human rights are met within those programs and in the guidelines. That being said, I am very much aware of what human rights are. I know how important they are, and I know that they are not things that can be negotiated with. And right away, I guess that was when I got this piece was when I really decided I needed to say something. Because now is the time to bring this to your attention. Anyone who tells you can't how to dress or how to celebrate a holiday is violating your basic human rights. It's your human rights to express yourself creatively, freely, without any objective, without any kind of guidelines set on how to express yourself. That's your basic human rights. That's one of the many basic human rights you have. I do have a presentation here today, folks, with you guys. I have all of the facts, if you would, behind everything I'm about to say with you guys. And if you think that I'm just trying to be the guy who's defending the big guys, that's not the case either. I don't care about the big guys, and I don't care about the union. I care about the people directly who are being affected by this. That's the people who are not being able to work right now. That's why I'm addressing this to you. And I'm hoping that there will be a compromise between both the unions and the big rigs, that they will fix some compromise so my friends can get back to work. But one thing I will not tolerate is someone lying to them or manipulating them or breaking laws for their objectives. So, that being said, I do have plenty of things I can add to you and give to you guys for information. And first and foremost, I'm going to do something I don't normally get to do. We're going to try it, and hopefully this works for you guys. Not sure if it is. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that one right quick. I'm going to bring this up in another thing here. There's so many things that I have to share with you guys and let you guys know, and it's just hurting me that I All right, let me see something here. Apparently if I do this and get rid of that, you guys can't see that. And then I do this, documents. Alright. Bringing this up, folks. Bear with me. Alright. Alright, so I'm going to try to bring the share thing here back up. And I'm now going to share with you guys this. Alright. So here we are. I'm doing this again so you guys can see all of this. Okay, 1 second, let me just move this box out of here. I don't think you need that right quick. All right, folks, so here is the document that I'm talking about. We're going to look at this directly. This is actually a combination of multiple documents that I have for you guys. So the first thing is your Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is, universally speaking, this is across the board. No matter where you are in the country or in the world, you are entitled to these things. We're going to highlight a few of these things and point them out to you. You can see my cursor here. I'm going to point that out. So first and foremost, we're going to scroll down here. Anyone's entitled to all of these things. I'm sure we're all aware of all of those things. Everyone's life to life, liberty, security. No one shall be held to slavery. 1 second. All right. And we're going to scroll down. All right. So we're scrolling down. So the reason I'm bringing up the Bill of Rights is because we can see some of these things here. You know, basic human rights. And I can tell you that someone who is this right here is a lot of fun here and whatnot. But anyway, the purpose of this, your basic human rights, is to protect your well-being and you make sure you live a happy life. And there is no one, and I'm scrolling here quickly because ultimately I'm summarizing basically what all of that is. All right, so there he is. Now, the basic, to sum up this whole piece about the human rights thing is recently, last week I think it was, SAG have implemented a rule that their members are not allowed to show up at picket lines dressed as anyone like Superman or Batman, because it may be reflective upon intellectual properties owned by these, quote, studios. And what I'm going to tell you is that's a violation of your basic human rights for them to tell you how to dress, that is not something they have govern over. They cannot tell you how to dress or how not to dress based upon a strike. The strike is so that you do not work and so that you are getting fairly treated in a contract dispute, not whether how you are dressed for Halloween or how to celebrate a holiday. That is violations on several of those articles I just skimmed through. They're basically anyone who celebrates Halloween, SAG is actually is violating you by telling you not to dress how you feel like. They're also putting guidelines on how you should express yourself, which is another violation of your basic human rights. That's the first. But let's talk about this strike thing real quick, because that's the next thing. The documents that I have for you guys that I've prepared into this one document are basically all of these are laws in place for when you strike, what unions can and can't do, and tactics they're allowed to, wordage they're allowed to do, and what guidance they can do and what they cannot do. That makes it a legal strike versus an illegal strike, okay? And it's important to realize that, because if someone is not paying attention and there are people who don't understand how that works, this could backfire very badly on all of the members who are currently in the middle of all this. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So let's take a peek at this. Is the right to strike. This is in the Constitution of the United States of America. By the way, I should say this is the same Constitution that gives me the right to freedom of press, freedom of speech, and all of the other rights that I am protected by under the Constitution of the United States. So there's that. I just want to get that out of the way. And because I am not in SAG or not part of the studios, I am not eligible, nor can I be threatened to be silent either. And if there is some kind of thing, there will be pursuit, because that is a violation of my human rights and a violation of the Constitution. Thank you very much. So this is Section 7. This is the right to strike. Let's take a peek at and again, we're going to look at all these things. And yes, we do have all of the guidelines here, folks. The states in part, employees shall have the right to engage in other concentrated activities to the purpose of collective bargaining, other mutual aid or protection. Strikes are included under concentrated activities protecting from employees from this section. Section 13 also concentrates that right to strike. It reads as follows. Here we go. Nothing in this act, except as specifically provided by the herein, shall be constituted so it is either to interfere or implicate, diminish in any way the right to strike, affect limitations or qualifications on that right. So that means anyone is allowed to strike. But there are, see this here? There are laws in place to decide whether or not it is a lawful strike or an unlawful strike. The lawful strike is a strike dependent on the object or purpose of the strike, on the timing or conduct of its strikers, the object or objects of the strike, on whether object lawful matters are not always easy to determine. Such issues often have decided by the National Labor Relations Board. Those are the people who oversee those unions that protect everybody else in the government. So the consequences can be severe to striking employees and the struck employers involving in their questions. So we're going to scroll down. Strikes for lawful objection. Employees who strike for lawful object fall into two classes: economic strikers and unfair labor practice strikers. Both classes continue as employees, but unfair labor practice strikers have greater risk, rights, and reinstatement to their jobs. That's the unfair labor people can get their jobs back. That's why, that's technically what the strikers, the SAG, they put in under an unfair labor strike. However, when you read thoroughly what those things are, you're going to find out that might not be the case either by the Constitution. All right, so greater rights to the... So basically, this is how the actors can come back to work and not worry about losing their jobs for striking against these entities, right? I'm going to put these in perspectives of what we're talking about here. So, an economic strike, let's read what that is. Economic strikers define if the object of a strike is to obtain the employer of some economic concessions, such as higher wages, shorter hours, or better working conditions, the striking employees are called economic strikers. They retain of status as employees and cannot be discharged, but they can be replaced by their employees if the employer is hired bona fide. That's basically an in-between someone, a step in to fix the role, which, as of no one is. Permanent replacements who are filled their jobs in economic strikers when the strikers apply unconditionally to go back to work. The strikers are not entitled to reinstatement at that time. However, if the strikers do not obtain regular of substantially equality employment, they are entitled to recalled to their jobs if they are qualified when opening in such jobs occur, or begin. The representatives have made an unconditional request or reinstatement. Unfair labor practice strikers define employees who strike protest under unfair labor practices committed by their employer are called unfair labor practice strikers. Such strikers can neither be discharged or permanently replaced when the strike ends. Unfair labor practice strikers, absent serious misconduct on their part, are entitled to have their jobs back. If the employees have hired anyone in the meantime, they will be discharged and they will get their jobs back. Unconditional requests and reinstatement have been unlawfully denied by reinstatement by their employer. The board may award the strikers back pay starting at the time they should have been reinstated. That means you're not getting paid this whole time you're off, folks. That's what the law states. Strikes unlawful because of purpose. A strike may be unlawful because of an objective purpose is a strike. Wait a minute, let me go back to this. A strike may be unlawful because an object or purpose of the strike is unlawful. A strike in support of a union unfair labor practice, or one that would cause the employer to commit unfair labor practices, may be a strike for an unlawful object. For example, it is unfair labor practice for an employer to discharge an employee for failure to make unlawful payments to the union when there is no union securely agreed in effect. A strike is compel to employer to do this would. This would be a strike for an unlawful objective, and therefore is an unlawful strike. Strikes of this nature will be discussed in connection with various unfair labor practices in later sections of this guide. Furthermore, Section 8 of the Act prohibits strikes for certain objects, even the object is not necessarily unlawful, if achieved by the same means. And an example of this would be a strike to compel employer to cease doing business with employer B. So if someone threatens, well, in this perspective, we know who we're talking about, what we're comparing here. If SAG, they're representing you, the actors. You guys are employer A, and, well, the studios are employer A. You guys are the middle of all of it. However, employer B would be the people who are non-union. So that would be anyone who is trying to get work who are outside the union. You can't put guidelines on them. That's unlawful to do that. And whatnot. We're going to keep going here. However, the union, I want to read this here for the example would be a violation is stop doing business with the employer B. So, in other words, technically speaking, the actors are employer A. The SAG are the negotiators. Actors are employer A. Employer B is the studios. Because technically, you guys are run by, or whatever way you want to look at it, there's issues there. That's what I'm pointing out to you guys. Any way you want to look at it, wherever you want to see yourself in that perspective, whether you're employer A or the studio's employer A, the studios or an independent film person, you can't tell someone they can't do something if it's not in your guidelines. That's illegal and unlawful strike. A strike unlawful because of timing. Effective of no strike contracts, a strike that violates a non-strike provision of a contract is not to protect by act or the strike of an employee can be discharged without discipline. Of course, that's illegal. Okay. We're going to go down to here. It should be noted, not all refusals to work are considered strikes and thus violations of non-strike provisions. A walkout because of conditions abnormally dangerous to health, such as defective ventilating systems or in a spray painting shop, will not be held in a violation. That's not the case in the acting world, by the way. Same strikes at end contract period. You can all see this. I'm not going to read every little bit of this, but I want you guys to all take a peek. Unfortunately, for my podcast people who are listening versus reading this, unfortunately, there's a certain protection there. Now, I want to point this last piece out to you. This part is very, very important. Strikes unlawful because of misconduct of strikers. Strikes are unlawful because of misconduct of strikers. Strikers who engage in serious misconduct in course of strike may be refused reinstatement to their former jobs. This applies to both economic and unfair labor practice strikers. Serious misconduct has been held to include, among others, violence of threats. To the Supreme Court ruled that a sit-down strike when employees simply stayed in plant refused to work, thus applying the owner of property is not protected by law. Examples of serious misconduct that could cause the employees involved to lose their right to their reinstatement are, I want you to pay attention, strikers physically blocking persons from entering or leaving a plant, or in this case, a studio. Strikers threatening violence against non-striking employees. This is, in this terms, you guys the SAG people who bombard people for speaking up against what they don't believe in. That's a violation of all of that. It's not a threat of violence. It is a threat in nature, and that's illegal. You cannot do that to people who are non-striking employees. Strikers attacking management representatives. People, when they take cheap shots or they're calling people names or whatever, that's technically speaking that is a type of an attack. All right, now listen to this piece here. Striking or picketing obviously this is not a healthcare facility, but we're talking about studios here. Now, this here is SAG. This comes from SAG. And I also want to point out right back here, because I think this is important to note, very important to note. A union, by the way, I do have a union piece I'm going to pull out too. And actually, that's probably why this is backwards now that I think about it. Yeah, this is backwards. But anyway, so anyone who's in SAG, you've seen this rule before. These are things implemented by SAG. SAG-AFTRA members are not allowed to work for struck companies in the fall under the TV or theatrical contracts. You may read the full list of the strike rules below. Okay, so that's what they're saying. You're not allowed to work during those times. All right. You guys are in some trouble now because I'm basically showing you why none of this is legal and why it's your union reps who are the ones who are causing a lot of these conflicts for people and are lying to you and bullying a lot of people, making it unhealthy for a lot of people. But these are all the guidelines put in place by SAG. They're telling you what you can and cannot say. This is all the things that are allowed, what not allowed. Agreements. You guys have all seen this. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, right? You guys have all seen this. You're a union. Now I want you to pay attention to this. This is important. According to SAG, any member who disregards the strike order could face disciplinary action per the strike constitution. And SAG-AFTRA membership disciplinary actions include seizure, a rependent, a fine, suspension from the union, or expulsion from the union. So in other words, SAG says if you don't listen to all of what we say, and if you go to get work, if you do anything outside of our guidelines, you're going to be out of our union. They're threatening very serious implications here, folks. That's a pretty big thing right there. Non-union workers can do, whatever they're going to do. By the way, if they're non-union, SAG has no control over anyone who's non-union. So they have no say in the matter for a non-union anybody. Because if they don't belong to a union, SAG has no say over that person. That's just how that works. Again, you guys have all seen this. However, now I'm going to show you some news you know, right? Yep, here's some rules you know. You guys have probably already read this article here. Studios announced suspensions of the contract, all that, right? Because of whatever. All right. I'm bringing this up to you guys because it is clear that the gap between, the studios and SAG-AFTRA are way too different. The SAG-AFTRA proposal would cost the companies additional $800 million per year and create an unstable economic burden, which, by the way, if we remember that top thing on the top, remember the rules and the Constitution of the United States? So SAG apparently is trying to say that they have their own constitution, which is separate from the United States Constitution, which, by the way, is also it's treason. You can't do that either. All right. Anyway, that's like that episode of Family Guy when Peter invented Peterland, or Petopia, and he dubbed his house is his own country. In the United States, basically went to war with them. Yeah, it's kind of like that, except for that's a ridiculous circumstance, and there's no such thing as inventing your own constitution outside of the Constitution of the United States, unless there is some stuff that you're trying to protect yourself from, like violating that Constitution that you're supposed to live by as a United States citizen, that you're protected by. Anyway, you guys have all seen this, I'm sure. All the guys, and I want to point out, I'm not saying that you guys don't deserve. I'm not saying that actors don't deserve better pay and shouldn't be treated fairly. I absolutely agree with that. And what I don't know if you guys know or not, I don't know if you know that a lot of the things that you guys originally wanted, you were already offered. The AI thing is already off the table. That's not even a thing anymore. The thing that is holding people up right now is they want a profit share into these streaming services, which I'm going to add some new tidbits to that thought. Now here's some more articles here. I know, right? Done by me. Here you go, Studios, and of course, everyone has issues and whatnot. This is kind of how it works, right? Everyone's reading it. Good. All right. I'm sharing this with people who maybe have not seen this. I'm sure you've heard from the SAG already, because they tell you guys everything. Yeah. So here's the thing. So everything that was already offered has. You guys wanted higher pay. They offered higher pay for background actors. They offered you guys profit sharing into different things already. They've already also taken away the AI thing, which was, these are the original terms of your strike that your union people put up. And then while they're in this meeting, they invented this other thing where they all want a piece of the streaming services. We want profit sharing into those things. Okay, well, I'm going to get into that after, because I don't have that thing up here, but we all know that is what they're looking for. Let's not pretend we're not stupid. And the other thing, and I read it from someone else earlier, that SAG is basically telling people that if it's not coming from us, it's all lies. Folks, this is all facts. It's in black and white. These are people who have no bindings to anyone. I have no care of either order of the big people here. I don't care about SAG, and I don't care about the big studio executives. I care about my acting friends who are in the middle of this nonsense. That's who I care about, and that's where I take liberties. So here goes the writing strike some more. Giving you guys all this information so you guys can read it for yourselves. I mean, you guys are offered, look at this. I mean, did you guys know you were offered this? Look at this. Outstanding Management Guild. The writers got all this stuff. You guys are offered a similar deal that your executives turned down. So I'm curious what the fair deal is. Oh, we're going to get into this part now. This is my favorite. Anyway, today is round 2 of those meetings where the only thing that's holding them up is this new thing they just proposed where they want a piece of their profit sharing in the streaming services. But let's take a look at this. Here's a problem. Folks who are SAG, do you see what this is right here? This is a job opening for general counsel for SAG. See that? And there's another one I have for a CFO, because SAG doesn't have that either. Anyone who knows anything about contract negotiations, unions, law, basics, two things you need for success. You need a person who's headily in charge, a qualified person to be your CFO to handle all of the risk management and all that stuff. And also, you need a proper lawyer to go in there and negotiate all the things, so no one's getting taken advantage of, not the people you're representing, nor the union or anything else. But currently, you guys don't have a general counsel or a CFO. However, you do have this person right here. This is the person who's negotiating for you, folks. Fran Drescher, I guess, may be sitting at the table too, but this is the person going in there for you. This person right here, assistant executive of the Writers Guild West. But she's also representing the actors too. That's strange to me. Isn't that strange? She's doing both. It's strange to me. But anyway, apparently she's taken up all that. So this is the person. Ellen Stutzman is the person negotiating for the actors as well as the writers, I guess. As I shake my head, I don't understand how that can be. Isn't that a conflict of interest? Anyway. But regardless of that, she's negotiating for you actors. All you actors who are out of work right now, she's negotiating. Let's look at all of her expertise that make her qualified for her to do her job. She's apparently been there from 17 years and 10 months. Assistant Executive Director, as you can see, her qualifications here, Senior Director Research Analyst. Wow. Selected. So she was a research analyst. That's cool. Oversees political research. Political research, folks, not a politician. She's not a lawyer. Director of Research of Public. Again, she's research director. Senior research analyst. Again, does anybody know what those are? Do you know what an analyst is, or what a research analyst is? Basically, they get big things. They look at various different forms of everything, and they look at them, and they analyze the things that they find. They don't write the things up. They have no govern over how it's predicted. Do they have any reason, nor do they have any outcome of it, other than they look at it and they assess them. Research analyst, get it? Another research analyst. All right. So she's got some great. Oh, here's her education. She went to UCLA. Clearly, she has she definitely must have a degree in law, right? University, California, Los Angeles, Anderson School. Let's say she's got an MBA, master's. Okay, social activities, 12 Global Access Program follow, Honor Society. Good for her. She went to Cornell. And her and she went to Cornell for industrial and labor relations. That's a course she took. Publications, why the charter. This is things that she's done, apparently. Good for her. Yep. She speaks English. How old is this woman? Let's find out. She's got all this experience. She must be at least 70 years old, this woman, right? Right? She has to be. At least 70 years old, this woman, with this kind of experience. Let's find out, because I didn't see her birth date on here. Did I miss her birth date? Hold on. Let's see her birth date. Because, I mean, all of those credentials, very impressive stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Very impressive indeed to run your negotiations against these studios that you're trying to win a contract against. Let's say, I'm sure she's at least 40 to 70 years old with all that experience. Again, Stutzman. Oh, she's 41 years old, everybody, I think, right? She's 41? Looks like she's 41 years old. Is that right? Hold on. I'm sure you guys all know her. She's your one. She's in there negotiating for you guys, so you know. Looking up her age here. And by the way, I think it's kind of sad that, I have to look up someone's age, and it's a little sad and disturbing a little bit. I feel bad about doing so, but I'm going to do it for the better judgment. I can't tell if she's 30. Is she 30 years old? Huh. I believe she's 30 years old, folks. Yeah, this is her. We have her. We have a winner. Yep, she's definitely around that age. Folks, she looks no older than she's probably younger than I am. I'm going to be 44 in March. So I'm going to go with 30, and according to things I read, she's 30 years old. So everyone who's in the union right now, everyone who's in SAG right now, the person who's in there talking on your behalf for these contracts is this 20 to 30-year-old research analyst named Ellen Stutzman, and I guess Fran Drescher is in there talking on your behalf too. That's good. It's good to have that. All right, folks. I'm going to get out of here. This is just depressing. That's just depressing. It is. All right. I'm back to me again. So, folks, that's all facts. And that's all reality. It's not doctored. I have no reason to lie. And here's another couple things. I already mentioned that telling someone that they can't dress in costume is a violation of your basic human rights as a whole. The union doesn't belong doing that. And I'm trying to find. And we already looked at the the guidelines and things that the unions are and are not allowed to do. Did you guys see that thing back? Oh, I should have brought it back. Oh, you know what? I'm going to bring it back up. I'm hate to do this to you guys again, but I'm sorry, guys. We're going to go do this again. Oh, man. Bear with me. We're going to do this one more time. I had to bring this back up again because I just all right. I have to bring this back up to you guys again. All right. All right, we're going to bring this right back up for you guys. And here we go. I'm bringing this back up again. Hold on. Where's my face? I want my face back up here. All right. Give me a second here. Craziness. All right. Yep, there it goes. All right, cool. There it is. All right. Folks, we're going to go back to this again. I wanted to show you this one more time. In regards to this part here, the all of these punishments and whatnot, that the disciplinary action, if you do any of these things that you're not allowed to do, apparently even wearing a costume for Halloween, which is a violation of human rights, will constitute all those heavy things. I want to take you back to the labor board and the union thing that is connected to all of it. Oh, what do you know? I can actually click on that. Oh, look. Isn't that lovely? Hey, everybody, look. This is that very site. Look at that. Do you see all this right here? I want to make sure you guys can see this. Let me move my head over here so I can show you guys this. The Congress passed the National Labor Act. The NLRA protects workplace democracy by preventing employees at private sector employees' fundamental rights to seek a better work condition and designate a representative without fear of retaliation. That means that they won't, if you get a union, they're not going to go crazy if you get a union. That's what that means. That's what that summarizes. I did read this in its thorough thing. And there are some very important pieces I wanted to point out. I'm sorry I'm skimming through quick. But anyway, let me just do that right quick. I'm going to show you guys this individually. I think I did show you this in the other thing here. So I already showed you guys all this in the last graph, I guess you'd say. I have to ask, why is this knowing what we know about what a strike is and what you have to enter in order to declare a legal strike, it's either an economic or a unfair labor. This is currently being put under unfair labor, but if you saw the definition of economic, you would say that you guys are looking for better quality pay and wages, and you want all those equality things. That's an economic thing, not a labor dispute, because you are already being protected, I believe, and whatnot. Now, you're protected now by, hold on a second here, we're going to continue on here. All right. So here's the National Labor Board. And all this fun stuff, legal, all that, unfair labor practices. So everyone who's in the actors studios right now, they're suing for unfair labor practices by their employer. To interfere with restraint, coerce, board punishment. Here's the labor union stuff. So unfair labor practices, all that. You can't go in front of a lie detector. Here is some important things to realize. Forcing or regulating any person to cease using, selling, handling, transport. So remember that whole thing I read earlier in the Constitution? That's basically, this is basically detailing what those things are individually. Forcing an employer to recognize or bargain practicing a particular labor organization is a violation. Forcing or requiring an employer to assign particular work to an employee in particular labor organization or particular trade, craft, class, rather than employees in labor organizations or trade, craft or class such as employer is failing to conform to order. Interesting. Applying other. Nice. I'm sharing this because I think you guys need to see it. This is in black and white, and these are facts because this is coming from a document that is older than every single person involved in this. This is basically detailing the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and so forth. Declaration of Independence, the United States Constitution. Oh, here's some of this. Picketing. Let's look at the picketing rule here. Picketing has been conducted without a pension under Section 9 by filing within a reasonable period of time not to exceed 30 days from the commitment such picketing provide. By the way, you guys have been picketing for 100 days now, 103 to my knowledge. That's right there. And all of this is stuff that you guys are in violation of. And by violation and by that I'm talking about right now, everyone across the board. Sorry. Okay, look at this. To the expressing of any views, argument, or opinion, or dissemination of, therefore, without any written, printed, graphic, visual form shall constitute evidence of unfair labor practice under the Provision Act. That's interesting. So that's all that. We know all that. Cool. So that's representative in elections. That doesn't really matter. Of course, you guys know you can't put it in front of a healthcare facility, but in this case, health isn't the issue. However, at the very top of this, I believe it was, the very beginning of this, and I believe they say it again at the end, it is unlawful to threaten people with any kind of action if they do not follow suit with your strike pursued by the union. If someone chooses to go to work, the union and its members are not allowed to harass or give that person a hard time, which, by the way, evidence has proven that has been the case. I mean, look. Can you guys all see how many... And again, I'm not sticking up for the studios either. They're in violation of all of their things too. They should have been fair with you guys up front. But to be honest with you guys, I've already showed you guys that the person you have coming in there is a 30-year-old research person. What is she, from TikTok? I mean, I don't know. But what I do know is that the studios are coming in there, you better believe, with actual lawyers. The studios have CFOs for each of those places. What do you plan on accomplishing if you don't have either one of those things at the helm of either one? I mean, it's a sad case because people who are in the union are there because the union is supposed to protect them. And sure, I get that, and you should be. You should be compensated for your work. But look, okay, so what you guys are doing right now, right? Since you guys are striking already, you guys are boycotting work, right? You're boycotting actually, SAG just boycotted all of the costumes and so forth. And also they said that people aren't allowed to dress as Marvel or DC characters because studios own those. Comic book people had that right first, and the copyright goes to them originally. And if the person is dressed in the costume of the comic book character and not of the studio, who are you to tell them which version they are dressed as? And again, you're violating their human rights, and you don't have a say in how they can dress. Nor can you take any action against them, because that is against the law to take any kind of action against anyone who does not agree with your with your strike. Okay, here it is. Term strike includes strike, and here's the striking provisions here. See? Look. All right. And the whole thing I wanted to point out to you guys is that this is unlawful. It's unlawful, all of it. And you can't be threatening to kick people out of SAG because they do not want to dress, because they want to dress in costumes. And you can also, there's also the guidelines protected by the Constitution and the various other legal things that are overpowering and will always overdo anything written by an entity of a thing of that nature. And that thing is that you are not allowed to punish someone who doesn't agree or goes against the picketing. So in other words, if an actor wants to go to work, you can't hammer that actor and say you can't go to work. Now, apparently SAG has given permission for some people to go to work. That's because they have to. By law, they have to allow people to go to work who want to work. That's a law. That's not a SAG thing, that's a law thing. And that's what I'm trying to point out to you guys. In all honesty, there's nothing keeping anyone from going back to work if you choose to go back to work and making money instead of this. And the problem is the people you have who are currently running your, campaign. Is that what we're calling it? The campaign? Who are currently running your strike. Hey, they can give all the speeches they want. I'm really good at doing speeches, but I'm not qualified to go in against a company and do negotiations. I'm a third party, technically, which, by the way, there are ways to negotiate and to eliminate conflicts. One of those ways to positively end a conflict between a union and its thing is have a third party. Well, guess what? Here's the third party. And what I'm going to say to you guys is start acting like children, all of you. All of you stop acting like children. Not just the studios, not just the SAG union. I'm not talking about the actors. The actors are the ones who are in the middle of this. And because the SAG is taking control of this, they are the ones who are your voice. And the people who, all of you guys, everyone from George Clooney all the way down to the guy in the third row behind Ben Affleck in that movie you saw 12 times, everyone from that person all the way down are putting their careers on the line and have this 30-year-old person who is a research analyst going in there negotiating with Fran Drescher for each of you. I'm going to break it down to you. Fran Drescher's not in there negotiating for you. She's the mouthpiece. She's your voice. She's your president. The person negotiating for you is the one I just showed you. And that person, as you saw, she's not a lawyer. And she's got no money involved, no money background. She's not a CFO. And she's not a lawyer. You don't have that. You never had that when the strike began. And they know that. But they didn't tell you that because, I don't know, they tell you guys whatever they want to tell you, I guess. And I want to point out, again, I'm someone who I don't care about the studios. I could care less about. And I could also care less about SAG. I care about everyone in the middle of this, the actors, the actresses, the people who are the visionaries, the people who bring these things to life. I have worked in the entertainment. Now, I said I was going to mention and talk about this latest thing about this wanting compensation for these streaming platforms. Now, here's the thing about that from the third-party perspective. There's a bit of an issue with this, and I'm going to tell you what that is. Very plain and simple. And I'm also someone who sees everything in three ways. If it's something that the people who are in SAG have worked on, sure, let them have some type of something for that, for the things that they are immediately or restrictedly involved with. However, what the SAG is neglecting to realize, maybe doesn't want to realize, Amazon Prime, Netflix, I know those specifically, I know there are a few others maybe, actually promote independent and non-union work. They have non-union films in their collections. And the issue is, if you want just a big part of that pie, right, of all of those individual, platforms, that means you want to take money or some type of mess up some agreement some independent person already has in stake because you have more power and more members. Well, that's unfair too, isn't it? To the many people who are non-union, who have non-union work on both Amazon Prime and Netflix, the SAG is wanting a piece of those things that you didn't have anything to do with. And that's a disrespect to the people who are creators and independent people who choose not to become involved with the unions. The reason they don't become involved with unions is because of issues like this. While you're in the union, and by the way, as someone who's worked in the film business, don't think that I don't know how the film business works. I have a degree in filmmaking. I have made independent films. I will not work with SAG. I will not hire someone with SAG. I have respect for people who are. I have respect for those people who decide that that is right for them. That's their deal. But I'm not going to let them get lied to and manipulated or anything else, and nor am I going to let that dictate my choices. I'm not part of the writers' union. I'm not part of the actors' union. Guess what? I can still make films. SAG can't tell me I can't make a film. If I get the right backing and the right budget and the right things, I can make a film if I want to. And places like Netflix and Amazon Prime are places where those creative forces go to craft their services. And now what SAG is, this last piece that they're fighting over is that SAG wants all of their members and themselves to get pieces of these things. Again, if it's your individual work, then sure. If Fran Drescher wants, some type of pat on the back and some type of compensation for the nanny or whatever else she's worked on, or Jack or whatever, fine. Give her those procedures. Sure, give her a piece of that. But Fran Drescher should not have any involvement in any projects that I worked on, because she's not worked with me. I did not hire Fran Drescher. So that's kind of where the problem is, and I think that's why I'm kind of breaking this down for you guys. I think that's also why there's that conflict, why that is the issue, why the studios aren't necessarily wanting to break that. I don't think it's not really about, we have all this money. And in all honesty, if you want me to really break it down for you, if I was to show you what each of these platforms actually bring in, you probably wouldn't want a piece of any of that, because they're actually in the red, every single one of them. Do you want, a share in 0.0 negative? I mean, what's the point of getting something that's negative $100 and $1 million? if it's something that you have directly worked on and it's on that streaming platform, sure, you should get something for that. But you don't get control. You don't get a piece of the entire platform just because something that someone you represent has that. That's where the problem is. And if you look at Netflix, I urge anyone, go to Netflix right now. You'll see names of movies you probably never heard of. A lot of independent, foreign films, which, by the way, I prefer those myself. I don't need, bombs going off and highway explosives of the Hollywood things. I'm more of an independent guy anyway. I studied film, and I support fellow independent filmmakers. I support actors and writers and people who want to be creative. I don't support any of the studios, and I don't support the union. I support the creative minds that create all of it. Fun story. Earlier this year, I was working on a project. I was helping to try to develop a project for some friends of mine. Well, people I thought were my friends anyway. But I was trying to develop something, and we had planned on going to Netflix because I know they give people opportunity, especially if they're given a kind of a leg up from someone who has a relationship with them. And I'm an independent person. The other people were independent people, and we hired all non-union people to be part of it. If that program was to go to Netflix, which I believe it should be, I don't believe that Fran Drescher or anybody associated with SAG should have any kind of control over that project, because that's where the conflict is. It's not that the studio doesn't want to give you something for being part of the platform. The problem is what percentage do they give you? How do they give you something and not the person who is the independent guy who they've already made agreements with? Do they now have to make a new agreement with that person who's not union? And because you union, now I want to be fair here, I want to be honest. From the filmmaker's perspective, to hire someone who is SAG as a filmmaker, first of all, the SAG doesn't give you insurance. That's a lie by SAG. It's the filmmakers, the film production companies who are the ones who have to pay your insurance. Why do I know that? Because it's in the contract when you hire a SAG actor, is how much you have to pay for their insurance. That's the thing that the film company or the film project, the studio who makes your film, that's what they do, not the SAG. You pay the due so they can negotiate that, whatever that's going to be, and they've already done that. But ultimately, that insurance that you guys are all talking about, that comes from the film project that you're associated with. The filmmaker is the one, the producer, the one who gives the money for the film. That's who does that piece of it, not the studio. Theoretically, the studios are usually the ones who have the money. So yeah, I guess you could say, the studios do fork over the bill for the insurance that you guys have, but not SAG. There's no pension in SAG because you never stop working. And also you have to work in order to get the insurance. But the reason you have to work to get the insurance is because it's the filmmakers and the studios who pay for the insurance. If you want, I can show you guys the laws and the rules that go along with hiring a SAG actor that filmmakers have to apply already. A regular SAG employee has to have a trailer separated from everybody else. I'm not getting a trailer. You think I'm going to pay for someone else to have their own trailer? Reasonable demands. That's a SAG rule, that you have to have a separate area from everybody else. You have to have a trailer. You have to have certain foods associated there. You have to have, obviously I agree with the labor laws as far as youths go and stuff like that. There absolutely needs to be safety in place for the youth and the young actors out there in the world. Frankly, there's not enough protection for them. But for everyone else, I mean, in wrestling, for example, where I'm from, you go to the locker room, you're all in the locker room together. You create the same business together. And wrestlers who are known to, change in other dressing rooms are not often looked at as team players per se. And ultimately, one of my biggest joys about filmmaking is the collective effort of everyone coming together to make that project. Because, as I said before, and I'll say it again, when you make a project, when you make a film or television project, whatever it is, it's a team effort. There's no me, it's ours. Because without everyone collectively, there's no film or television show being made. You need the writers, you need the directors, you need the actors, the stagehands, producers, studios. That's what you need to make a successful project. And if you don't have some of those things, you have to make and cut ties to make an independent film and then sell it to Prime or make a deal with Prime. I have films on Prime. I know this to be a case. And the moral of this whole story is, at the end of the day, the biggest question people are going to ask, what people are going to wonder, is how long is this going to last? And in fairness, to be completely honest with you guys, there is no end in sight. Especially since, one of the biggest issues is the fact that, as I pointed out, who are you running in there? You don't have a lawyer, or do you have a person who's qualified to step in there? George Clooney is definitely probably more qualified than the person in there talking right now. But in retrospect, I'm not doing this to hurt the actors. I'm not doing this to discourage you guys. And I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm trying to tell you. I want you to be informed of what's going on. I don't want you to be blindsided. And I don't like people lying to people. And I'm not for the studios, and I'm not for SAG. I'm for each and every one of my friends who are F4L who are in SAG. I want you to do what you were meant to do. I want you to fulfill your dreams and your goals, to make the things that make you you. And right now you're being kept from doing those things by two entities that are absolutely out of their mind on both ends. And they're supposed to be working for you, but they're more about some other objective. All the original proposals have already been agreed upon and already been said, okay, cool. But then there's always something more, always something more. And that something more is keeping you out there longer. And I'm going to tell you this, if these things come to an end, and tonight that was supposed to be the case. They had talks today. Can't wait to find out what the outcome is. But here's what I'm going to tell you this. Don't believe everything you hear about anyone. I'm giving you guys facts that I have found. Constitution is law. You can't break the law. And if you're going to be striking and you're going to be picketing and all these things, you have to do it with legal guidelines. You have to have right people in charge of leading your strike. And someone giving a passionate speech is great. It's great to have someone to be so passionate and tell people, where to go and how to get there and how dare you. But in all honesty, how dare you tell people how to dress for Halloween? Tell people what they can and cannot say in retrospect for something they're proud of? How dare you, for you and your members, to berate people who question this union? How dare you for ultimately doing exactly the same thing you accuse the studios of doing, bullying others? There's no resolution in that scenario if that's how everyone's looking at it. I have seen people countlessly on my feeds who are out there protesting for you, who don't know what I know. Everything I just said, I wonder if it's going to make any difference to any of those people, or if they're going to believe what you tell them. I'm a person who's not for the studios, and I'm not for SAG. I'm for each and every one of them who deserve to be doing what they deserve to do, and that's do what makes them them. They're prevented from doing so. People are hungry and not getting those things. I'm going to tell you this too. If you were working on a project prior to all of this, it's gone. There's not going to be a project for you. The reason isn't because you've been fired, or because the reason isn't because of because you just started a strike. It's because while like before your rate that you had, that was what they agreed upon, but now you have struck, right? And now, because of that, when they redo these figures for all these projects that either started and then paused and are going to go back, guess what? There's no back payments on that, folks. It goes from right where you started to where you are now. So the 100 days that you guys sat out there and picketed all these studios, all of that time lost versus working on a set or whatever, which I get. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But you also have to live with the consequences of that. Now, if the reason why that's going to be a problem is all of those projects that you originally had been assigned to or approved for or chosen for, well, now they have to reassess if they can hire you. If I was to tell you what it costs to hire a SAG actor, it's pretty expensive. Even the lowest denominator. There is a low tier that the SAG gives you as a guideline that is, even that is too much for the regular filmmaker who's just trying to get out there and make the name. A student filmmaker can't afford a SAG employee at the lowest tier. And now what's going to happen is anyone who already was been approved for or was chosen for a role, well, now that studio or whoever's making that film, whoever doing the finances, has to reassess. Well, gee, we originally had 10 people for this project, but now this is going to be too much. We have to cut it down to 8 or 6. You were going to play the third bully of this. You're going to play the third singer in this big movie, but we can't afford you, so we're just going to go with 2 of them instead. That's the repercussions. Any contract you had prior to going into this, it's done. SAG ended that. When you went on strike, that forfeited that contract. That voided your job. In hopes that you are treated fair, we all want to be fair. We all want to be treated equal, and you should be. The sad part is that these people who are supposed to be looking out for you allowed this to go way too long. And if they all, on both sides, acted like absolute competent adults and had representatives who actually knew what they were doing, this thing probably could have been over already. But when you go to a negotiating table and you keep on saying, well, okay, you gave me this, but now we want golden shamrocks instead of green clovers. What difference does it make? It's still it's the same flower, a different presentation. That's how petty this is. That pettiness is keeping you from going to work. That same pettiness is putting guidelines that are violating your human rights and the law. They're forcing you to break the law by encouraging you to tell people what not to do and what to do and berate people for when they do with them. You can't do that. It's illegal. You can't tell someone, hey, you need to follow us or you're out. That's illegal. And it's a bullying tactic. What are we doing? What are you doing? Well, I got to say, this is probably the clearest I've ever been on camera. And this is a show that meant that I needed to do this a lot. I needed to get this out there, take that risk. And I'm sure I'm going to ruffle some feathers. I'm sure there's going to be someone who's going to look at this like, how dare you talk about our industry or what we're doing and call us bullies. Take it from someone who deals with bullies on a regular basis. Take it from someone who speaks against bullies. I think that the higher powers are the bullies on both ends. Sorry to tell you that. Both ends. Studios and your leaders. Leaders. They're both bullies. Both groups. You are the pawn between the two of them. And what I'm going to tell you is this. You are a human being at the end of the day. You are entitled to be yourself. You are in charge of yourself. And I want to say this. If you don't agree with the things that were said to you by the powers to be, and you're tired of sitting at home, then do what you should do. Follow your heart and go into it. Go back to work. Because the Constitution protects you from repercussions. If the union disbands you for going back to work and doing something that brings food to your table, they are in trouble. They violate the law and they are disbanded. See how that works? You have more power than you think you do on both ends. When you take on a project, you look at a contract, and usually there's a lawyer involved, and a lawyer, and an agent, and a manager, and who knows what, and what have you. There's a whole group of people. I know people who have an agent, and a manager, and a scout, and a coach, and all kinds of things. People who, frankly, I don't understand why you need so many people involved when, you really need a solid person. But at the end of the day, it's you yourself who gets hired to any of these projects, who gets hired at the end of the day. It's you yourself who people are invested in. Unfortunately, I don't think anything is going to be what people think it is. So if you are someone who is waiting to work on a project, I'm sorry, it's over. If you thought you had a job prior to going into the strike and you thought that role or that production was going to go right back to where it was, it's done. For many reasons, right? Theoretically and realistically. Stranger Things, for example, that's a great example. That's not going to come back, and I think they've already killed it anyway. It was slated to come back, and then the strike happened, and that can't come back now because look at all of those kids are now almost older than I am, and that's ridiculous. And all of those other productions, if you're a young actor especially, it really impacts all the young people out there, because if you're a young actor who was assigned to a job or got hired for a job, or booked as they call it, well, that job's probably gone now too, because let's say, for the sake of argument, you're hired to play, Little John, to, the main character, older John, right? Well, if you're playing younger John, you are already, bigger and taller, and you might have already outgrown that role. So that's gone. A lot of things change in 100 days. People's physical health, physicalness in general can change. Mental health can change. Dynamics of your own economics, your households. In 100 days, you lose your house in 100 days. You could go bankrupt. You could go to jail. You could have a baby. Well, no, you couldn't really have a baby, right, in 100 days. But you could get pregnant. You could give birth if it was prior. So there's a lot of things that can change in 100 days. It's now 103 to my knowledge. And I'm doing this show because someone needs to be the voice of the person in the middle. That's the actors, the actresses, the producer, the people who are making the projects. They're held up. There's no summer blockbusters coming out. But you know what? As much as I'm sitting here saying how important like this is for you guys who work out in Hollywood, I now have to second guess myself. Is this worth my energy to invest in using my voice to talk on behalf of people who are fulfilling? I will always stand with dream masters and dream warriors, people who work for their goals and dreams. I only get involved when the F4L is at stake. This symbol behind me, this is the F4L emblem. I am known as the leader of the F4L because I have been the voice of the F4L. When everyone else sits silent, I'm the one who uses the voice. There's two kinds of people in the world: the ones who see something wrong and walk away and choose to ignore it, and the people who see something wrong and they put themselves in action and they do something to fix it or to help it. That is the point that I've always been. So, I'm not going to go any longer than this. I've already kind of done all this. I've given you all of the materials you needed to see. They are all backed up. I can give you all of the various different places you can find these documents if you choose to look at them yourself. Just hit the Google button. Google laws of unions. Google labor. But I think it should also be noted, and I don't want this to be sound insincere or insensitive to people who are currently in the situation that they're in with the whole acting strike. While Hollywood is all there worried about, getting a fair deal for the actors so they can get back to filming, I think it should also be noted that, more importantly, there has been some very big tragedies in the world. There's been some real issues in the world. People have lost lives. This goes against the F4L policy, too, with love, caring, compassion, understanding, and respect for each other's differences. And I think perhaps, in all fairness, maybe people, instead of worried about this acting strike, and I guess I'm also to blame for that, just because I don't like people getting lied to. So that is why this will be the only time I'm going to address this. Because there are more important things, even more so than entertainment. And I don't want that to be misunderstood. I am a filmmaker, I'm a writer, I'm a creator. I love to make joy and make things collectively for people to enjoy. But at the end of the day, I'm the leader of the F4L. I am the original bully buster. I am a husband, a father, and a leader of the F4L. I was born it, I breathe it, I live it, I'll die it. I'm damn proud to be at F4L. I stand for love, care, and compassion, understanding and respect for each other's differences. From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, that is my burden I put on myself. So now that I have addressed this acting SAG thing, do it with what you want. You want to ignore me, go on ahead. I have no reason to lie to you. And I've pointed out, I'm not going to say it again, I'm not for the studios, and I'm not for SAG. I'm for the individuals who are caught in the middle. You have a right to know what's going on. You have a right to know that you were offered a ridiculous amount of money already, the AI thing has been gone since like probably 2 months ago. That was taken off the table already. But yet, they're still negotiating. You're still out there picketing. You're still out there on strike because your leaders are forcing you to be out there. Now it's because they want pieces of pies they're not entitled to, in my opinion. Because not everything that is on Netflix, Prime, I can't speak for everything, but on those particular farms are not all SAG related. So you're not entitled to anything that are not carried under that. Sorry. But in general, I've said my piece. I can take this off my chest now that I've said what I had to say. I've given you the knowledge. All facts. The Constitution of the United States of America protects me, freedom of press, freedom of speech. I am blessed to have that right and that privilege. But on the same sense, so are all of you. You just got to learn to stand up for those. And, to the big rigs who are in charge of all this, all of you, stop acting like children. Stop acting like petty idiots, all of you collectively, the studios and SAG. You're both at fault. Stop acting like children. Get back there and help my friends get back to work. No more pettiness. No more nonsense. No more idle threats. No more worried about how someone's dressed. How dare you, of all people, tell someone how to dress? And do not underestimate the power of human nature and the power of your people that you support. I am unclear how this person became the negotiator. To my knowledge, their leaders are voted in. And did the union vote this woman, this 30-year-old in there to negotiate for them? Clint Eastwood, Tom Cruise, Ryan Reynolds, Chuck Norris. Any of those people, you're telling me any of them voted this woman to be in charge of their careers? You're telling me that every single one of the actors and actresses elected that woman to negotiate when she's not a lawyer, nor is she a CFO? Shake my head one last time. And I ask you and I implore you, stop the nonsense. Just stop. Because here's the thing. I'm tired of seeing the lies being told to my friends. And then I have to bite my tongue when I know that's not accurate. I would rather people get upset with me for being honest than me live with myself and knowing that my friends are being lied to and manipulated by people. Their human rights are being violated. They are being forced to break the law. And that they're fighting for something in a cause that is a lose-lose battle when you have no leader in charge. Sorry, to be honest, but that's always who I am. So with that, I'm going to stop the video recording part of this. No, I'm not. Folks, I've said plenty. I told you guys the facts. You guys all have the facts now. I showed you these things. If you would like to know where you can find these things, you can Google the Constitution. If you would like to directly email me at www.dreammatches, DREAMMATCHES @gmail.com. If you think you're going to bully me, you are the wrong person to play with. I'm not in the SAG. I am not in the studios. I'm an independent third party, if you want to call it that. But at the end of the day, I'm F4L. And when you mess with my friends, you get to hear from me. So, with that, may all your dreams come true. I am the F4L icon, Sean Jazz Stevens. May you live the F4L way. Peace, everybody. So I have ended the YouTube video at this point, the video portion, and now this is strictly my voice. And ladies and gentlemen, I am the F4L icon, Sean Jazz Stevens, saying, may all your dreams come true. Peace, everyone.